Perfect. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Client Spotlight videos. And today, this is Julie Santiago. I am the founder of Awaken Your Life. And I am joined today by our incredible, beautiful, recent alumni, Amanda. So if you're watching, everybody, please welcome Amanda. Amanda, thank you so much for taking time out of your life and your day and your schedule to join us here. I'm really happy to have this conversation with you.
Yeah, same. Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here today.
And tell everybody when did you graduate from the program?
I graduated 3 weeks ago.
Okay, so
Crazy.
recent. So recent, 3 weeks ago. You found us 3 months ago, a little more than that.
Yeah.
So I like to have everybody start by painting a picture of where they were and where they are now. We were talking a little bit about this before we hit the record button, but I always think it's so important. You can tell everybody a little bit if you want to about the type of job you have and what was life like before you found us. So will you just kick us off with that?
Yeah, sure. I'll do a little deep dive blast from the past. I was coming off of a very intense 5-month, 90-hour work week project. I am in the IT consulting landscape and was working on a government project. And there was just a lot of unknowns and obstacles. And I think just being the perfectionist and wanting everything to be done right, it really just consumed my life. And work's always been, unfortunately, more of a number one than a number two. So this really took a hold of me personally and professionally. And I think coming out from the other side after those 5 months, it was a very rude awakening to realize that I was running myself into the ground and I had no time to breathe and really do anything for me. And after doing a lot of research, just understanding what burnout was and how you can get here, I was at a loss. I feel like I fell victim into the same type of cycle and bad habits of, putting my all and giving 110% into one thing, which typically ends up, being work related. And I just had enough, and I felt hopeless. I felt alone. And I did research, and this program came up, and I watched her video and I was like, why not? I booked a call. I don't even know, maybe like a couple days after, and talked to Charlene, who was, I can't even begin to describe her. Like, it's almost like we've known each other forever. And she was like sitting across from me. And I think she was in Hawaii, which I was super jealous about. And she just had this demeanor and this knack of just really opening me up. I'm not necessarily a very vulnerable person. And it just felt like we had this great match and connection and this synergy. And she's like, I think this would be great for you. And, I'm on the phone. It was like well after the time that was allotted. And, I said I put her on pause. I ran down. I was like, I want to do this program to my husband. He's like, okay, like whatever, you. I'm like, okay, like go with my gut. That's always what I do. And honestly, I made, one of the best decisions for me from a selfish and a selfless perspective, that I really just am excited to be here just to talk through this journey. So it's kind of
that's so beautiful. It's such a great setup. So, and here we are. I want to talk a little bit. I do want to talk about where you are now, because everybody wants to hear about that. It's like, why was this one of the best decisions that you've made? But I do want us to talk a little bit more about the consumption, because I think this is such an important point. You said I was overconsumed by work. Work was my number one. Work's always been my number one. Work is not two. And so you are married, right? You have a partner. I am curious for you, and you are working, how many hours a week were you working before you found us, coming off of that project?
Before the project.
Yeah. Or no, during the project. So when you came to us, you were coming off of how many hours a week?
I mean, like on average, probably like 80.
Okay. Which we can do the math, right? That's almost 12 hours a day, right?
Easy. I mean, roughly like 90 was more like it, but we'll go with 80 for a good effect.
We'll be generous. It was only 80
Yeah,
hours.
we'll be generous.
Was that impacting your relationship, your health? What was happening in that way, if you want to share?
Yeah. What's tough is that my husband always, I feel like, supports me. And this is kind of usually like my MO. And I think he gives me a very long leash. And towards, I would say, like the last 45 days of the project, he's like, okay, like enough's enough. Like, this is insane. Like you're not even like functioning as a human at all. And he was totally right. And I needed that probably a lot sooner, but obviously it's on me to really check myself. But everything else fell to the wayside, everything personal. I would cancel, doctor's appointments or personal appointments, or I would be too exhausted to want to go hang out with friends. And, it's this trickle effect. And then everything builds up and just feels like, you're in this purgatory where you just can't get out. And it was, then it started trickling into like my health as far as, not getting enough sleep, or not like a sound night's sleep, and not a consistent night's sleep, and working until, the late hours and early mornings, and being on call, and not having weekends, no separation. So yeah, I mean, it mentally, physically, emotionally really, took a strain.
I love that you said that, mentally, physically, emotionally, right? And spiritually, right? I mean, it's like all of it, body, mind, and soul. Like, it's like you knew that the way that you were doing life wasn't sustainable. You got to the end of your rope. You booked a call. You talked to our amazing breakthrough coach, Charlene. So we have free breakthrough calls, and you booked a call, and you just knew, like, you were in the right place. Charlene and all of our breakthrough coaches have been in your shoes, right? All of our women are former corporate burnt out women, right? And so you joined our program. Okay, let's fast forward to where you are today. Okay, so about almost 4 months later, 3.5 months later, where are you now? And then we'll talk about how you got to where you are now, from there to here. So can you give us a glimpse of what life looks like now for you, externally and internally?
Yeah, there's like a lot of teeth to that. I think I'm the best version of me that I've been in a working scenario. I think I'm a better person to me. I'm a better person to my coworkers and my team, and to my family and my husband, and a contributor. I think it really comes down to something that I've always had a really difficult time, is just balance. I'm very, put it all in one basket and leave everything else to dry. So just really figuring out how to equalize everything, and prioritize and have boundaries. And, when I'm not, feeling 100%, like I used to work through, I had chronic migraines. I had 18 out of 30 a month for those 6 months. So I was diagnosed with chronic migraines. And when I started this program, 2 months into it, my migraines decreased by 60%. And it was just a factor of being stressed and not enough sleep, and not taking care of myself, and being glued to this monitor, and not even like smelling fresh air, like for days, like unhealthy habits. And now I'm like, I need a break. I need to step away. It's okay if I only have 15 minutes. Like, in 15 minutes, I can do my one thing on my to-do list, or I can do one thing for me. And I think sometimes realizing that it's okay to take a break, and it's okay to like refill your cup and step away, and, even just like having a moment of silence, or just closing my eyes and just kind of resetting. I think even from like feeling my feelings and my emotions, and, if I feel like, I'm getting overwhelmed or overworked, it's a nice little gut check. And I think it's the same thing with those boundaries. If someone calls me and I'm in the middle of something, I don't 100% feel a necessary urge to pick up right away. I'm like, I know who it is, I know what they're calling about. I can call them back. It's down to 911, where there's so many distractions in our life, with the texts, the phone calls, the pings, the emails, the everybody can find you at any point and needs you at any time. And the more you succumb to that, the more they're used to needing you at all times. So even like, and I'll take a pause after this, but even I took a vacation like a month and a half ago, and it was the first vacation I've ever taken. This is including my honeymoon. Okay. That I have completely shut off for work, like felt dangerously good. And I did everything I could to prepare everybody on my team. And I'm like, there's nothing I can do from Costa Rica. And I don't even have internet here. So it's kind of a blessing in disguise. And what will be, will be. And when I come back, if I have to clean up on aisle 9, I have to clean up on aisle 9. No big deal. We'll deal with it then. But I am going to shut off and relax and enjoy this vacation, because I have gone way too many times with taking time off and spending a lot of money, or being with, girlfriends or my husband and being away and truly not being able to disconnect. And you feel terrible after a vacation because you are like, I spent all this money and I didn't actually get to relax, and I'm still working. Like, what's the point of even taking off? So I think just resetting those own expectations with myself and sticking by this, let me help my future self mentality. So I feel really, really blessed, really honored, and very fortunate to be where I am right now after such a tumultuous, time. And I think everybody has a different recourse and a different journey and a different rebound. But I personally believe, I don't think I would be anywhere where I am right now without this program, like hands down.
I want to ask you this question, and then I just want to celebrate everything that you shared. What do you think would have happened if you hadn't done the work in our program? Like practically, like really, because I think, there may be some people who are watching, it's like, oh, I can figure this out on my own, or maybe, okay, fine, I'm out of the big project, so then it's going to get better. Like, what do you think if you hadn't learned these tools and you hadn't learned this way and had the coaching and gone through the program, like what would have actually happened? Short term, long term, all of it.
Yeah. So I was in a very similar situation about 5 years ago, where it was I was in a managerial role. I was managing 25 people at the age of 25. And I just burnt myself out for 18 months, and I quit my job on a whim, on like a middle of a day on a Tuesday, not preemptive. I had enough. I hit my pause button. It was, I'll never forget that day. It was like, I couldn't even believe I did it, but it was like this panic mode. And it was also like, this is the best feeling ever. And I never want to get there again. And I promised myself that I would never, and it led to other things with eating disorders and, going through, some, therapy and rehab and things like that to kind of get me back up. And it was almost a 2-year process of a lot of external resources and help to get me back to where I am. And I think what I know about myself is that if I don't get help in a way that I feel that I need it, because only I know and I'm not connected to it, nothing's going to change, because my habitual habits and behaviors, I keep saying, I'm like, we all say it's the definition of insanity. We keep doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. And I feel like this is a piece where I haven't necessarily understood or cultivated understanding of like, why do I keep getting here? What am I doing? I know fundamentally, like overarching, like these are the things, but like, I'm clearly not doing anything different, and I'm not making a change, and I'm not bettering myself. I'm kind of ending up, whether it's a shorter time frame, like for 5 months, like I was like, okay, like at least it's like 5 months. 5 months is 5 months, but I'd rather take a stopgap here, because if I didn't, I think I would have either took on something that was way more of a task than I could physically take on, just because that's my nature. And then I would have been in that cycle again. And I probably would have been in a similar situation where I probably would have just been like, I can't do this anymore.
Mhm.
Or I might have like taken a quit mentality and just, I don't know, took time off. Obviously I was contemplating like, is this not for me? Like, why do I keep ending up here? Like, should I quit? Should I leave? Like, is this not the right role for me? It's all these, ruminating thoughts. So it's hard to predict, but the past shows that it's happened, it's possible. And I just refuse to get there. And I think having a program like this is not anything I ever even thought was out there. And
Yeah.
here we
Yeah.
are.
Here we are. I think that you're speaking to something that so many women who are watching, listening can resonate with, can understand that feeling of when it happens once, it's kind of easy to be like, oh, well, maybe it's just the job, or maybe it was just the timing, or maybe it was just this phase of my life, or maybe it was that project or that boss. But most of us are smart enough to know if we really look back at our lives, we see the pattern, right? Like, oh, I was like, this happened 5 years ago when I quit my job. I was actually like this in college, if I were honest with myself. I've been the high achieving perfectionist, give it my all, abandon everything for work or achievement or accomplishment, right? My whole life. And so I think this is such an important piece, which is why we often say, like, off quitting the job, taking a step back, sacrificing that success, right, that you've worked so hard for, that life that you've worked to build, it's a band-aid. It's a band-aid, right? And sometimes, fine, you did it 5 years ago. It was the right band-aid, right? In a way, but you found yourself here again, and you were smart enough to know, wait a second, right? Like, I've done all this work. I've done therapy. I've read the books. You've done like the yoga, like, rehab, like you've done these things. And like, there's another layer here. There's something missing, specifically for women like you, like me, like us, who are high achieving, very success driven, who kind of go through the motions of life, and work takes over, and we're like, what's it all for? And so it's like we get to that point where it feels like self-preservation, like, oh, maybe I'm gonna have to walk away. We're like, no, you don't. You just have to learn another way. So you said something about like you sharing your migraines decreased by 60%, like halfway through the program. You learned boundaries, you learned priorities, you learned your priorities, you're taking breaks during the day, like small breaks. You're not pushing through, you're not ignoring your body anymore. How many hours would you say that you were working by the end of the program? Like, what it go from, like 80, 90 to what?
I would say like 50,
That's huge.
55. Yeah. I mean, I'm really trying to strive to have a cutoff at 6 o'clock. Start at 8, give or take, but that's really, I'm trying not to shut off and then log back on. Is that
Yeah.
showing my MO?
Yeah, and we know that's a practice, and but I think that's tremendous. Like, that's tremendous to be like, I'm now at 55, 60 hours a week, and like when I started this program, I was coming off of like 12-hour days. For people who are watching you, it's like, okay, yeah, I get it. Like, set boundaries, prioritize, like take a break, like all this stuff seems obvious, right? Like, if you were to hear you 3 months ago, if you were to hear yourself talking now, would you be like, yeah, but how? Like, what was one of the things, whether it was the first thing or one of the things that you learned in the program that maybe we told you to do that made a huge impact, but at first you were just like, what? This makes no sense, that you thought was crazy? Like, is there anything like that you want to share? Like, how did you get here?
Yeah. Well, I'll say two things. I think one thing that really stuck with me was in the very beginning, you said, it's not the job, it's you. And I think I've gone through life thinking that it's always the job. And you're like, you can leave, you don't have to leave. And I think I feel like I know myself and what makes me tick, but I also don't know myself from like a feelings perspective. And I suppress and I keep pushing those feelings down. The feelings exercise, I think it was 5 days in a row that we had to journal. And I'm like, I can do this. Like 5 days, put a reminder on. First day, did it, obviously. Great. Forgot for like 3 days. I'm like, are you kidding me? Oh my God, we need to start over. And I started over and I kept it for 5 days. And before I restarted that day one, I was like, okay, what is the why behind it? Why am I not doing this? It's a simple task. Well, it's not simple because it's not checking a box. It's actually feeling what I'm feeling and not pushing it away. And I think I allow myself to hold so much in, and I don't want to think about it in the moment, and then I explode, right? And then I have a meltdown, or then I have a freak out, and then I'm like, I'm erratic. I have all these emotions, and like I can't even control one, and I don't know who I am and which way's up or down. But after I did it for those 5 days, I really feel, pun intended, that I could get a little bit more of a pulse check on myself. And that, I think, stems into when to make my priority list. What's urgent, what's important. If I'm feeling grounded and, I feel like I'm in this good vibe and I can focus in on, making this priority, list and figuring out my project workload, that's that time to take it on. Or if I'm feeling, you know, like I need, something to fill my cup, I might, do something that's going to change that I'm going to be aware of it, recognize it, accept it, and then either just, accept it for what it is or do something about it, versus just fighting it. I just feel like there's always this constant, internal battle, with myself, like trying to figure out, that inner critic and inner wise woman. And, there's a lot, I feel like that was the kickoff of so many things from the modules and the homework assignments that I personally feel like set that framework for me to become way more vulnerable and understanding of, the true feels.
Yeah. I mean, I love it. And like, this is something that if you had told me when I was working on Wall Street, that like learning to actually feel my feelings and not work through my feelings, not stay busy through my feelings, not numb through my feelings, I would have been like, I roll, like, give me a break. Right. And what's true is, the answers we seek are hidden in the stillness that we avoid. And we all have gotten so good at avoiding stillness. And most of us fill it with work, right? For all of you women who are watching this, it's like, wow, look at the social media. We fill it with social media, with food, with wine, with work. And it's like, what's really underneath? This is how we can check all the boxes of success and wake up and still feel completely empty and unhappy and judge ourselves for feeling that, right? And so I love that you said that the lesson on feelings and learning how to identify that inner critic inside and all of this was so impactful for you because it really is, it is truly a return to, our power and our awareness and all of that. I love it. I have 2 more questions for you. One, does your husband notice a difference in you?
He does. He does.
Wow.
Which I was surprised. He's I guess opposites attract, but he doesn't understand, I think, a lot of the self-help, and it does take him a little while. And I had asked him a couple times throughout the program, like, do you notice a change? I'm like, do you notice anything? Like,
You
just
see how
curious.
different I am?
I'm like, hey. And when I wasn't asking him, like, unprovoked, he was like, I feel like you've been so great to, our fur baby. She's been sick. And usually when that happens, he kind of takes over. He's in the driver's seat, or, making dinner more often now, or just doing things that I selfishly didn't want to and didn't have to because I could just fill that with work. So I feel like he feels like there's a lot more attention on us and our family and being more present. So I think he's definitely a happy man.
Beautiful. I'm so happy for you. And this is just the beginning, right, of this new way. The people who are watching, so ladies, like, you heard this, like, you Amanda came to us. She was exhausted. She was overwhelmed. She was burnt out. She was consumed by work. Work was her number one. And you felt hopeless and alone. We didn't talk a lot about that, but like that feeling of like, I feel hopeless and something's wrong with me. Maybe I'm not cut out for this professional work. Maybe, right? Maybe I should take a step back. Maybe all the stuff. You booked a call with our team. You booked a great call with our team. You had a major breakthrough on that breakthrough call with our coach, Charlene. She guided you to, what was real, what was really happening. And we fast forward your life, 3 months later, you know how to set boundaries, you know how to set priorities. You're not feeling like you're trying to put out fires all the time. You went on your first vacation in how many years without checking email?
Ever.
Ever.
Over a decade.
Your first vacation without checking email and over like your whole grown-up life almost, right?
Mhm.
Over a decade. Your migraines decreased dramatically, right? You're taking breaks throughout your day. And you said, like, I'm just showing up better. Like, you're a better contributor. You're a better colleague, right? You're a better partner. You're a better fur baby mama.
Yeah.
And you have this skill set to be able to call yourself back when you start to swirl, which I think is the greatest thing. Like, I don't want you to need us forever. I want you to have the tools and the toolkit to be able to do it on your own, which is the most beautiful thing. So for those of you who are watching, you can book a breakthrough call with our team. It was the first step that Amanda took. It's a free call. It's about an hour, and you'll get on the phone with one of our amazing trained coaches, and you'll have a conversation about where you are, what's working, what's not working. And if we can really support you to be our next success story, we'll tell you a little bit about our program. And if we don't think we're the right fit, we'll tell you that too. Okay, we'll tell you that too. Amanda, for all the people who are watching this or listening to this, thinking about booking a call, what would you want them to know?
I hate to say it, I'm like the Nike slogan, but just do it. I mean, I think trust the process. What you're doing is incredible. What you've built. I mean, there's so many different reviews and there's so much content that you put out there. You just made that incredible list. I think for companies, right?
Yeah.
I want to steal your thunder, but I don't want to steal your thunder because I want it to do justice.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of great stuff out there that I think, even just booking this call, it's not a sales call. This is like truly, I think what resonated is like, we're going to tell you if this is a good fit or not. And I think that honesty piece is, you want this to work just as much as we do. And if it's meant to be, it will be. And nothing hurts but trying, because you'll never know unless you do.
Thank you for trusting yourself, for letting us be a part of your journey, letting us teach you this so that you can then be the ripple in your life and your work with your family, with your community. It is such a privilege and an honor to witness you. And I can't wait just to see what keeps happening as you keep learning and growing, and we get to keep being a part of each other's world. So thank you for taking the time, for your wisdom. Is there any final message you want to send to the ladies listening?
I just want to say thank you, Julie. You're absolutely incredible. You are an anomaly, breath of fresh air, and your team is just incredible. You have built an amazing, amazing program with incredible leaders, and such an incredible group of women. So I just wish you all the best, and to all the women out there, you're not going to find anything else out there. And I just, I'm very, very thankful to even be here and show up and be able to be, a part of a success story. I can't tell you how much that fills my cup. So thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, love. Thank you for sharing your light. And I will see you in our alumni world. And to all of you watching, you can book a breakthrough call with our team. It is endtheburnout.com/apply. Super simple. endtheburnout.com/apply. It'll lead you to a page. You'll find our calendar on that page. Grab a spot that works for you. There'll be a few questions to answer so that we can prepare for your call after that. And hopefully I'll see you inside of the program. Again, Amanda, you are a gem. Thank you so much. I love you, and I'll see you soon. Bye.